Speaking of Manhood Hour, he's back. Tarl Warwick, a.k.a. better known as Styxhexenhammer666. And I wanted to talk to him about a whole bunch of things, especially things concerning men. So, welcome back, Tarl.
It's a pleasure to be back on.
Amazing.
How are you today?
All is well, sir. How have you been?
I'm a little bit under the weather. I've got a little bit of a scratchy throat right now, so people have to forgive me for that.
Yeah, that's better known as the illegal aliens disease. So you've been doing well?
It may be allergy related because the thaw finally decided to come. So
yeah, I wanted to talk to you about a whole bunch of things. So we're going to move a little faster here today. For those who don't know, are you a conservative?
I'm more of a libertarian. I have some overlap with conservatives, but I do with liberals too. So,
how is it dealing with liberals?
Much more difficult than dealing with conservatives.
At one point, you were a Christian, then you became an atheist, and what are you today concerning religion?
An occultist.
What does that mean?
It means that I practice magic.
Really? And
a pagan after a fashion. I don't have any specific, like, most pagans, they're like Norse or Greek or something like that. They have a more traditional system. I'm a little bit more maybe cosmopolitan when it comes to it.
That's amazing. What type of magic do you practice?
A little bit of everything. I really like fortune telling and divination and things of that nature. But
and so why did you decide to get into that?
Because of personal experiences I had when I was younger.
And an example of a personal experience, if you can.
Yeah, like I had a video on this, like, God, it must have been 5 years ago at this point, where I actually saw the figure of Stolas, which is a demon in the Ars Goetia, but I don't consider it demonic in the Christian sense, because the Goetia was never properly identified with its real author. Anyway, they tried to, say it was Solomon that had written it and things like that. That was common back in that era, I think the 17th century. And I actually saw this being when I was a child, and know it to be actually real. Like, just as an anecdote, and I don't ask anyone else to take that seriously, but I know particularly what I saw.
Amazing. Do you believe there is a God?
There might be.
Oh, so it might be.
You have to define, well, which God and what kind. Because some of them are all powerful and some of them are more like semi-mortal, I guess.
Really? And do you believe that, you think that there is more than one God?
I don't claim to know.
Oh,
I
okay.
became more apatheistic because I was more interested in looking at like studying magic itself, and even like the academic side of spirituality. I love anthropological studies and stuff. One of my favorite books is Lake Monster Traditions, which is by Michel Muerger and Claude Gagnon. It's a Canadian work, French Canada largely, and it's literally just about like Loch Ness and the Champ monster and stuff like that.
Amazing. There are so many Democrats running against the Great White Hope at this point. and I'm sure maybe some more jump in a little later. Is there any one of them? Are there anyone that you would vote for?
No, not really.
Would you?
I can't imagine that I would, because most of them want to raise my taxes.
Yeah.
Most of the rest want to transform the nation into some sort of weird dystopian state. It's like Beto's the worst of them all. He's the most cringy.
Have you ever? Did you vote for the Great White Hope the first time around?
Yeah, I voted for Trump. I'll probably vote for Trump again, because what's the alternative? It's probably going to be Biden, and I don't want to, vote for a pervert. So.
And why do you call him a pervert?
Well, I mean, when you've got people making as many allegations as they have against him at this point, we've got video of him being creepy with people, including kids. It's a no-go zone for me.
So do you believe what those women say about him?
I don't believe that he's trying to be perverted, but the way that he acts around others I find morally unacceptable.
But women act the same way around men. Are they perverts?
Yeah. If they do it habitually, yes.
But
But I
women,
mean, we have video footage of him doing this. It's not even the adult women; it's more the little kids that he's doing this stuff with. That really makes me uncomfortable.
but do you believe that the Democrats are using magic to make you see him that way? Because when those women were accusing him of that, they were constantly showing the videos, while at the same time calling him weird, creepy. They made him uncomfortable, and they were showing you these videos. Was that magic being played on you to make you see it a certain way?
No, it's just linguistic propaganda. The Democrats are terrible at using it too. Like they really need to get their game up if they're going to win an election at all at this point.
Amazing. I have noticed that evil is trying to shut down the truth. Do you imagine Christians agreeing with you against censorship?
I hope that they do. My hope is that every American stands against censorship.
And you have been censored, right?
Yeah, YouTube is currently algorithmically demoting not just my content, but the content of anyone who covers mainly politics and current events, like anything news related. Their general algorithm now favors priority creators. They created this status a couple years ago where certain of the verified channels like CNN, Jimmy Kimmel, people like that, Will Smith, the main entertainers, the sort of corporate side of YouTube, they would have favored status. And what they've done is they took that status that they gave to them, they gave them mainly copyright protection at the time, and they forced those results up to the top of every search list. Now, this doesn't affect related videos or trending and stuff like that, but for people who basically use the search function, especially for current events, it's really had a huge impact. And I've spoken with other creators who have corroborated the same thing. It's not just my channel.
And what is the purpose? Why are they censoring some and not others?
I think with the priority creator thing, I don't even think they were attempting to censor anyone. What they were trying to do is appease advertisers, because the advertisers want to work mostly with the CNNs or the Jimmy Kimmels and stuff, or even like the Fox Newses of the website. The problem is that they've deprived views from a bunch of other people. And so it was a fairly precipitous drop in new attention. I mean, the channel is still growing, but I mean, the thing is, some people thought, well, maybe it's just, our channels are getting boring, like they're no longer new and fresh or something. But that growth restriction isn't replicated on any other platform.
In this country, if you create something or you do something and it's your private business, it's your private home, your private business, you have a right to do whatever you want with that, right?
Yeah.
And I noticed that the people on the left seem to be creating so many different outlets that the people on the right need. What's wrong with people on the right that they can't create their own instead of relying on people on the left?
They've tried to, but the thing is, the entrenched corporate establishment, it's not even just the left, it's just corporatism. These almost fascistic groups of people, they want to keep all the money and power for themselves. And so they try to do whatever they can to beat up on any newcomers. They've created vertical monopolies, like with Gab. Gab formed basically as a competitor of Twitter. They were deplatformed. They got a new platform to operate on, and then their finances got deplatformed. They were tied with Patreon for a while. Then they had to get a new domain registrar. They've had to get a new everything, basically. And that's just one site out of many. BitChute has had the same problem. Minds, anything under the D-tube, certainly like the Steemit crowd.
And so what's the solution?
Just to keep fighting. They'll eventually, the censorship lovers have always lost before, but that's because there are always people that keep fighting. And usually it's darkest before dawn and things look really dreary, and then all of a sudden they quickly reverse. So what people should do is just speak your mind. Don't be afraid of these people, because it's like Saul Alinsky tactics. This was one of the things he wrote about. One of the main tactics is to try to shock your opponent into not fighting at all by seeming more powerful than you are. That is, the fear is worse than that which is to be feared. It's sort of like you go into the woods, you hear a noise, and you imagine it's like a great big grizzly bear or something. It's actually a woodchuck or something.
That's an amazing point. I absolutely agree with that. That is such an amazing point. I want to ask you this, since you're so smart. I've noticed that white people are under attack around the world. And they are the most hated people on this side of heaven. First of all, have you noticed that?
Yeah, no, I've definitely, yeah, if you use Twitter, you definitely notice it more.
And why are white people under attack? White people built America, they built Europe, they built South Africa. Mommy Africa. Why are the people that they're allowed to come to those countries or these countries, why are they attacking the very people who welcome them in?
Because the subversive elements of the political structure need to remove that part of the power structure in order to seize it for themselves. And so what they do is they tell everybody else, including a lot of white people, they say this too, well, we're going to be benevolent. This is the past. It's like a bad thing. It's been abusive. Here's something better. And that better thing that they're trying to offer is communism, basically. It's just in a new, differently packaged form. Instead of having Joseph Stalin's face on it, they call it progressivism, and that's basically the only difference.
Why don't white people stand up and say no and don't allow it to happen?
Because they're afraid.
Of what?
Well, it's not just white people. Most people throughout society and all of history have been afraid of, rocking the boat. They just want to sort of live their humdrum lives. And so as long as things are kind of tolerable, they won't protest. They won't take to the streets. They're not going to do anything about anything. They can be abused a little bit, and the establishment knows this. Psychologically, they can get away with a little bit of abuse here and there as long as it's not too overt.
And so, but eventually white people will exist no more. There'll only be so few of them that they won't have anything to say about. They'll just be there, but they won't be respected. They won't have any power. It would just be, and then the people who are running them out would destroy the country as they destroy their own asshole countries that they came from.
Yeah, I'm more optimistic. I think that, again, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, hold a little taller.
No, I don't think that white people are going to magically disappear off of the face of the earth, because I think as time goes along, more and more pushback against the new establishment that the far left is trying to build will happen. And it won't just be white people. In fact, it probably won't even be mainly white people. Some of the most effective voices at this point that are against globalism and things like that are, like Candace Owens and stuff like that, or they're people that are Jewish or whatever.
I know what I wanted to ask you about the censorship. I noticed that the government is not doing anything about it. And if the government got involved and really did something about it, this thing would end sooner rather than later. Why do you think the government is not involved?
I'm not exactly sure, actually, at this point, why Trump's people haven't spoken more about it. His son has, Don Jr. to some extent. But here's the thing. That may not be a bad thing, because asking daddy government to solve the problem is about the worst possible idea.
Yeah, I understand.
But I think it should be popular action. It needs to be much more grassroots, which is typically what happens. Because if you look at in history, whenever it's popular demand and the free market, oddly, that drives something that's being censored, like rock and roll, it maintains, it stays cool, and it's still independent to some extent. But if we look at TV, the FCC comes in because to try to stop the corporatist side of running things and make it more government co-opted, and totally ruins TV.
Yeah,
the worst thing was the restrictions from the government.
I totally agree. I clearly understand that. I want to go back to something here. Speaking of singing, I hear that I was told this morning in the meeting that you sing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've started to do some music.
Amazing.
Which some people like and some people think is cringy, but the thing is, life is too short not to sing, so fuck it.
Ooh.
Yeah, pardon my French.
Amazing. And so my producer wanted me to ask, could we use some of your music on our show for the ins and outs? Bumper music.
If it was the older Hexenhammer things, yes. The problem is I'm still collaborating with other people.
Oh, okay.
I'm writing the lyrics and doing the actual singing, but there are active plans to release the music commercially. I'd have to get back to you on that.
No problem. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. But
yeah. No, it's fine.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. As a white male, are you afraid? Are you afraid to speak up? Are you afraid when you're in the public? Do you have any fear about being a white? Would you wear a Trump hat in the public?
Yeah, but I'd rather wear gothy clothes. I'm not afraid of being in public and stuff because I've had people threaten my life, and like I've had people say like we're going to get you to platform, and I'm going to stab you in the kidney and stuff. It's like I don't care. So
amazing. And what
being you know a 6'2" white person who dresses like you know a crazy biker or something, I guess helps a little bit.
And what are gothy clothes?
Well, like this, I like to wear, you know, black clothes and stuff. It's just an appreciation for that side of life.
Oh, you like the dark side of life?
Yeah, like in music and you know, style and stuff like that. I think it's more interesting.
Is Satan your daddy?
Satan? Well, I don't believe in Satan, so no.
Oh,
my dad is downstairs at the moment.
Who is your daddy?
Well, his name's Ed. So.
Oh, you mean like your real daddy?
Yeah. Oh, you mean like spiritually speaking?
Yes.
I guess I'm my own daddy, kind of at that point, which is kind of weird. You know, the Ouroboros is, you know, just makes sense.
So, do you still live at home?
Mm-hmm.
How old are you? Beta.
I know. No, I'm 31, but I pay rent. No, I pay my way.
But
it's just more convenient because I have like my garden here and shit like that.
Oh. So your father and mother, you live with your father and mother?
Yeah.
Beta!
I actually enjoy it, so.
Amazing. So
I am actively planning to find my own place, but it's like.
I hope so.
Well, the cost is significant these days.
But a man got to do what a man got to do.
Yeah.
So, like, do you date and all that?
Well, I don't really get into that side of my life.
Oh, you do not?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't usually. I don't usually talk about that side of my life much. You know, I like to keep it semi-separate from my work because I know anyone who becomes associated with me is potentially at risk. And while I may trust myself to fight, you know, if I need to and do what I need to do to defend myself, other people, they could be left vulnerable by that. So I typically don't, you know, disclose those connections.
Last time you and I talked, I asked. Do you have those empty feelings when you're by yourself? And your answer was, what was your answer about that? You remember that?
I don't think I really feel empty feelings for the most part. If I feel an emptiness, I just work harder, and I use that sort of to fulfill myself.
But when you work hard, that's like trying to fulfill that emptiness with a false illusion, because work doesn't fulfill that emptiness.
Yeah. Well, I don't feel spiritually empty, but like if I feel depressed or sad or anything like that, what I do is I just put my nose to the grindstone, and then that helps to fulfill over time. It builds up sort of the great work that I'm doing, releasing books, making videos, whatever I happen to be, you know, singing at this point, I would say. And it's just interesting.
But you said being a workaholic is kind of worse than drugs.
Oh, yeah. Well, it can definitely become an addiction. But at least it's a productive one. Like when you're addicted to drugs, you slowly destroy yourself. If you're addicted to work, it's a lot different.
But you still, the emptiness is still there, though, right? It doesn't fulfill that.
But it can be a good thing, too. Because, I mean, you can still take care of that emptiness. And it's just driving you towards greater and greater success.
I remember the last time you said that the only drug you take is caffeine. Is that true?
Yeah.
Still true?
Yeah. I've got it right here.
Do you smoke pot?
I haven't used marijuana in many years. I can't use it because all it does is give me. I would probably still use it, except that the last time I used it just gave me a big anxiety attack. Like after my near fatal overdose, I simply can't enjoy it. So I don't use any drugs, no.
Really? So you almost had an overdose of pot?
Did.
And what happened?
No, not on pot, on JWH-018. It's a research chemical that they used to put in you know, the synthetic cannabinoids that they marketed as legal weed, as like the alternative to marijuana that you couldn't get arrested for. And I actually had the pure powder of this, and I was making my own blend. And I got the idea that I should freebase some of it, and it was obviously a bad idea.
Wow.
But in a way, I'm almost glad, even though it was terrible and gave me anhedonia for months and, screwed up my, college time and stuff. I'm actually happy about it, because if I hadn't ruined my life at that point, I wouldn't be, here right now talking to you.
So you almost died?
Yeah.
What does death look like?
It was really psychedelic. No, the main thing was it felt like I was being compressed into like one atom and being like whirled around randomly. And I could see sort of existence flying overhead. It looked like the sun and the moon and everything flying overhead for 1,000,000 years. And very slowly it started to slow down and I could refocus. And it felt like I was already dead. And I could sort of see what was happening around me, but I wasn't consciously interacting with it.
That's amazing. And so were you willing to die, or did you want to come back?
It was
during that
extremely
period.
unpleasant. I was so messed up at that point. It was almost, I didn't have any conscious thoughts. I was just sort of a passive observer. So,
And it wasn't so it wasn't scary or anything because you had no thoughts about it.
well, it was terrifying in a way, but it was also almost pleasurable because I basically couldn't feel, at least partially. And it was weird because I would gravitate between those two states during the whole time.
That's amazing,
I
man.
had to get hospitalized, and I was messed up. So
How long did it last? That death experience, how long did that last?
I'm not exactly sure because I have slight amnesia about a lot of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So
for days afterwards, actually, it's hard for me to remember basically what happened.
That's amazing. So we're running out of time here. You have a whole channel with music, other channel with music. How can people get that or get to hear your music?
Yeah, they can watch it on Fat Hawaiian Man, the channel. There is some on the main channel, too, and once it's professionally mastered, once things are released, it'll be there. Because, mainly, if I'm doing a cover, because of copyright, I don't want it on my main channel for algorithmic purposes.
Yeah. That's amazing, man. Well, it is really good to talk to you. Any information you want to give out before we end here?
People should do their best. Keep up the good fight.
Well, I really appreciate you, and we're going to have you back soon. Thank you for coming on.
All right. Thank you for having me on.
I wish you well, man.
Peace.
Get out of your parents' house.
I will.
All right. Thank you, buddy.
Have a good one.
All right, you too. Amazing. Amazing. And don't forget to like, follow, tweet, subscribe, and share the Jesse Lee Peterson radio show, folks. We really appreciate it. We are at war. It is a spiritual battle for the soul of America. And it's going to take all of us to do it.